Okay, kia ora. Well, it looks like we are live on Seed Waikato. Welcome, Greg Johnston from Aroha Collective. Maybe we'll just wait a little bit for a couple of people to jump on. If you jump on, can you just drop an emoji or a comment below and let us know that you're here? And then when we've got a few people on, we will kick off. This is the first time we've ever done a live, so bear with us as we figure it out. It looks like we've got some people on now. As you arrive to the... Hey, Greg?
Where are we going live? We're on Facebook. Are we on any other platforms with this nifty new tool?
We are on Facebook, I think, at the moment.
Cool.
I think... Oh, we've got a few people now, I think. Yes, we're on. Okay, drop a comment below, fam. I can see some watchers. Drop an emoji, drop a comment, let us know that you're here. All right, kia ora, Greg. Thanks for jumping on our first live. I guess the point of doing these lives is really to just find some inspiration, find some connection at this crazy time that we're all experiencing, and just really for us to center and focus around well-being and what it means to be well during this time. So the point of tonight is to talk about generosity and the spirit of giving, and we're here because we want to talk to you about Aroha Collective. So before we jump in and go there, how are you, Greg?
Yep. It's been an interesting last few weeks for sure. Obviously with the lockdown. So about a month ago, I was talking with our founder, Guy, with the company that I've been heading up. And he actually, we had a really good, deep and meaningful after I came back from Mexico. And he actually had asked me to stand down from my role at CEO of Manta 5, which, you know, because he said, like, I feel like there's another person that can take this company forward to the next level. And so, you know, that was pretty tough at first. And that was about 5-6 weeks ago now. So my last day for Manta 5 was last Friday. So not only just with like managing the whole lockdown for our team, but then also transitioning out via a Google Hangout, which is not kind of the way that I was thinking of leaving. But no, it's been an interesting journey. And then, yeah, I've just been sort of focusing on, I guess, trying to get the balance right. Been cooking, which I hadn't done a lot of this year, and then just got amongst with some of my friends to look at what was some of the issues that were coming up around COVID-19 in New Zealand and what we could do to help. And that's how we founded Aroha Collective. So it's actually been quite cool because it's now given me that focus to really something to get stuck into during isolation, which has been nice. But how have you been? A lot going on for you. How's being a mum in isolation?
Thanks, Greg. It sounds like lots of change on your end too. Would be cool to hear how you're managing so much change and uncertainty. Like, is there one tool that's been really helping you through all that?
It's interesting because I went to a thing called Fit for Service in Mexico, and that was all about you know, spiritual, mental, physical, emotional well-being, and came straight with this transition. And so I guess I started looking at what I identify myself as, and a big part of my identity was the CEO of Manta 5, right? It's your role, and it's something that you put your heart and soul into. So for me, coming back from Tulum in Mexico, I was really just trying to unpack a lot of that stuff, which I think was perfect timing to be able to sort of prepare for this loss of identity, I guess, or part of the loss of identity. So I don't know, I guess the one thing I've kind of been reflecting on is like, nothing throughout this process has taken away from who I am myself and what I can offer. And I felt like I've left really amicably, and we've got a really good new CEO coming on board now. So that's really cool. And I've been trying to give him as much guidance and support as I can. And I felt really good through that process. To say goodbye to the team, because I've literally built that team from 2 to 30 people. So I deeply care about each of my staff members. So I think that was probably the hardest part. But knowing that they're in good hands and stuff, I think that's helped me to process that. Yeah, so that's kind of what's been on my mind.
So it sounds like kind of having the time and space to reflect and really knowing yourself and the value you're bringing to this world outside of any particular role or any particular organization is what's really got you through this time. Yeah,
for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure, that's right.
That's cool. Thanks for sharing, Greg. And to your point on how am I?
Yes, I was about to say, and how are you?
Yeah, look, I am ebbs and flows. There's the weekend that's just been, and I couldn't shake the sadness. I just felt so overwhelmed, just wanting to like get out and do something and see people and get like to the beach or just something, just feeling so trapped. So like the weekend was really heavy for me, but then today I've woken up, I've decided to bring my routine back, and I did a fitness class. I had some really cool phone calls and just did things that make me feel energized and good in the world. So for me, it's just surrendering to the fact that sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not, and to not try and beat myself up when I'm not feeling productive or energetic or whatever, and just be okay with blobbing around and watching Netflix or whatever. I've watched that Joe Exotic thing on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it, but oh my goodness, I'm just like, wow. So that's got me through the weekend and given me some laughter.
Nice.
It
is interesting though, because there's I think been blobbing out a little bit. We've been eating foods, and not doing as much exercise. I think I've put on a couple of kilos in the last few weeks, but it's all just part of it. It's just that slowing down. And I think although the news across the world is really hard to take, and I admire so much what Jacinda and the government have done to be able to act swiftly and as quick as they did. But initially it was really hard to sort of get into isolation, but now I think there's a lot of silver lining in this. It's a lot to do with just sitting down and having food with your family, like connecting with the people that you want to. There is a big silver lining in all of this, that if you look for it, you can find it. So
yeah, for sure. And I think for me, that's just being, and being okay with being rather than doing, and just connecting with myself and spending time with myself and being okay with that, not distracting myself with work or the world or something external. So I'm grateful for that. That's for sure. All right, we're gonna crack into some questions, Greg, and this isn't gonna go for too long. I'm thinking maybe we stay on for another half hour, if that, just so there's some really cool, short, sharp content for people to connect in with. But as Greg and I kick off, I can see we've got 13 people at the moment on watching with us. So drop your comments below if you've got anything you want to ask about Aroha Collective or about wellbeing, or questions you have for Greg. We can see your comments coming through, so we can share them up and make sure we get your questions answered as well. But Greg, kick us off with the Aroha Collective. We're super inspired by what you and the crew are doing. What's the idea behind it?
Yeah, so some of our friends, my closest sort of group of friends, got together. We were just about COVID-19 and isolation, and then what was going to come from it. And there's a lot of people in New Zealand that are in really privileged positions and are in isolation, but then there's others who are, either elderly or immune deficient, or they've just lost their job through no fault of their own. And then there's obviously the people who struggle day to day anyway, and this just exacerbates it. And so Rick, one of my good friends, he was looking at how other countries are doing it and whether or not there was other support mechanisms. And we found one that was really cool in the US. And that was really simple. It was just a Facebook group. There was people who would want to ask, and there was people that would want to give. And they had some really cool smarts and behind the scenes where they would approve the post and link it to the state by which that ask had been posted. And then people were acting really, really quickly to be able to service those people's needs. It was a bit different because we utilized Amazon, which we obviously don't have as effectively here in New Zealand. But it sparked something with us, and we thought, okay, well, could we get something up live? And so we did. We got it up live in a couple of days, and we started very much with the ask and give, but we were trying to really make it Kiwi and really resonate with the people that we have here, because our biggest challenge, I think, in New Zealand is, this whole tall poppy, like, don't ask for help, don't sort of express that you need support, has been our biggest challenge through this process. So we called it Aroha Collective, and it was very much, showing Aroha through action and allowing neighbours to support their own neighbours. And so it's got a lot of traction. We got about 2,500 people in the first 5 or 6 days, which was great.
Wow.
And every ask or request for support has been fulfilled or most of them have been fulfilled in about 10 minutes or less, which just shows that people are out there really wanting to be generous and tone it back a little bit, because there's been people wanting to bake bread, or there's been people wanting to sort of gift stuff, which is a bit challenging, obviously, with the guidelines from the government. So it's as simple as send a request and have that request fulfilled by a neighbour that's nearby. So
cool. Really simple concept that I think is quite easy to comprehend and grasp. But if I've got something to give, I can post that up. If I'm in need for something, I can ask for help, and I know that someone's going to be there to support me. That's cool. So where are you guys at now?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, the whole not wanting to ask for help necessarily has kind of been an interesting one, because we know there's a massive amount of need out there. And so what we've pivoted away from is we've changed a number of the language around. So there's, instead of it being an ask or a give, it's just simply putting up a request and then offering support. And so we also then launched a website, so it's arohacollective.nz, and that allows people to ask anonymously, and then we will post as a moderator onto the page and make sure that that's fulfilled. But the other thing we obviously understand is that as elderly people who are the most in need in New Zealand, often they aren't that tech savvy or don't know how to use Facebook. And so now we're really trying to ask people that I think everyone here, everyone that's listening, everyone who's on Facebook knows somebody else in New Zealand who will be in need. And really what we're wanting to try and do is pick up the phone and call them and ask them, just talk to them and see if they need support. If they want you to call every now and again, then do that. If they want some help with trying to get Countdown online and they're happy to wait, 5 to 7 days to be able to get their delivery, then that's great. But if there's some essential items that they need, so be it essential groceries, personal items, or over-the-counter medication, then they can simply just put a request on our Facebook group for anywhere in New Zealand, and someone else will pick that up and use their private message to make sure that that's fulfilled. So it's a really simple platform, and we want to try and keep it that simple. But now it's just about amplifying that message and prompting people to start to make those calls, because I feel that there's a lot of people in need here that haven't reached out to others, and by other people reaching back to them, I think it's showing Aroha in action, really, which is what we're all about.
That's awesome. So I guess there's an opportunity then, a call for us as a community to pick up the phone and call 5 people we know and just check in, see how they're going, and if there's an opportunity to support them in some way, connect in with the Aroha Collective platform, post that up, and start seeing some of these exchanges take place. Is that the opportunity for us?
100%. And I mean, we've been tracking and talking to as many of the charities and civil defence and that sort of stuff as well, because we know we don't want to reinvent the wheel here. We're just simply trying to support that we know gap. There's a lot of support for people that can't afford a lot of the food. So there's been a massive effort from the WISE group and from the Hamilton City Council Civil Defence and from all these different charities that have banded together in Waikato to be able to fulfill some of the needs for people who don't have jobs or can't pay for their own food, which is fantastic. But we also know that there's a number of people that are ringing up just asking for support to be able to get groceries, or they don't want to travel out because they have they've just had a cold or they've just had the flu or whatever it might be. And so I think that there's a real opportunity again for people in the Seed Network to be able to be those people who do make sure that everyone in New Zealand gets what they need through this time.
Cool, that's awesome. And it's something that costs us some time. It's picking up the phone. I mean, we don't have to have big amounts of money to be generous right now. It's our time, it's our thoughtfulness, it's our kindness, it's our aroha that we can give. And so I just love how you've simply created a mechanism for us to just put that into action. So I'm looking forward to hearing a few more from our Seed Waikato whānau, reach out to their networks and really support this awesome initiative. I wonder what does the future look like for you guys, Greg?
Yeah, so I mean, our priority at the moment is just to try and get some of those request support posts coming through. So we're working with, obviously, I'm trying to keep up to date with what's happening in the world of charities in New Zealand, but also just trying to promote what we're up to at Aroha Collective. And then for us, it's just really pivoting and learning as we go. Like we're fully open book to be able. We're not a charity. We're not registered at all. We're just simply the neighbours trying to support each other. So people have ideas about how they could support. If they want to come on board with us and be able to amplify the message, then we've got opportunities for people to become ambassadors and become moderators. So people that actually check and balance the posts and make sure that they're fulfilled. So we're just flying by the seat of our pants and seeing how we go. But it's really interesting actually, because there's so a lot of our volunteering community in New Zealand are the elderly. Like I think I saw a stat, it was like from St. John's, they've lost like 80% of their volunteer network simply because these are the elderly. And it's like, these are the people that have given so much of their life to New Zealand. And, then there's people that would otherwise be at work, but they have some immunity issues and so they're staying at home. And I just think this is where I think young people who are fit and healthy and can do so safely, I think it's a wicked opportunity for us. So
for sure, that's so awesome. And touching in on, you mentioned the ambassadors. What does that look like? So somebody wants to get involved. What are the different ways people can get on board?
Oh, honestly, just get in touch with us at Aroha Collective and just express what you'd like to support us with. We've got some pretty cool people in our team already, but as we start to grow the platform, there'll be opportunities for people to be moderators, or we know a little bit about what's happening in the Waikato, but there's other regions right the way throughout New Zealand that we think we can support. And so anybody, say for instance you're from Christchurch and you know a lot about the ecosystem there, and you want to try and actually communicate with some of the charities and civil defence and those types of people in your region, or some of the ins and outs of who might be influencers that could be able to share the stories and that they would like to communicate, then that would be fantastic. But really, we're just open. I mean, we've had Meta Digital and Tim, the leader of Meta Digital, build us a website.
Oh, cool, Tim.
Build us our brand, who's built the brand for Seed as well. So she was fantastic. So it's just anyone who can support, who sees that they've got something to give, and we can facilitate that, and then we're all ears. So
that's so wicked. So it's kind of like for us as a community to think of, if we've got the time and we feel called to have a reflect on our own strengths and unique skills, and come to the crew at Aroha and just share that. Say, hey, I'm good at, I don't know, social media content, whatever it is, and just seeing if there's a way to connect in through our own kind of skill set, I guess. That's awesome. I suppose too, through this process you would have connected in with a wide range of activities happening across the Waikato and other mechanisms for people to get support at this time. I wondered if you could just touch on some of the different other channels or platforms that people can connect into if they need support themselves.
Yeah. So there's been a few people that have done fantastic work. So Edina from the WISE group did an amazing piece of research very, very quickly to be able to work out how much demand there was for essential food packages and for cooked prepared food, and found out that the need had, I think it was about 4 or 5-fold increase in the last 2 weeks. And so then she's got all of these charities together and worked out, are they still able to fully operate? Are they partially operating? What do you do? What do you do? Linking them all together, working with the Hamilton City Council, who's funded 10,000 meals to be prepared. That's done through Montana Catering. So there's been a huge groundswell of support behind the WISE group and Hamilton City Council Civil Defence to be able to fulfil the needs of those who do not have the financial means to be able to get those essentials. They're preparing foods and prepared meals to be able to send out every week, and that demand is just increasing all the time. I know that there's a civil defence phone number that people can call and get the support that they need, and there's been a whole bunch of volunteers that have come on and behind the scenes, and then they've been trying to build middleware or websites to be able to link people's requests for support with a charity, but I'm still yet to see how that, I mean, the real option for most people is to be able to order their food online at Countdown online or foodstuffs online. But if they're actually in desperate need of essentials, I think there's a few charities that are coming up. I know that the student volunteer army from Christchurch has been doing some cool stuff in that space. So yeah, there's a number of really, really cool initiatives.
Wicked. Okay, so there's a bunch of different ways. I guess there might be some young people jumping on right now that actually need some support and need some help. So it's good to know there's a civil defence number that people can actually call and get some food vouchers or some kai out to them, or a meal delivered, and that there's an opportunity to post and ask up in the Aroha Collective Facebook group and share what it is that you need, and for that to be connected with someone who's got something to give in the neighborhood. So there's a few different ways. If you're a young person watching right now and you need some support, it's there. Please reach out. Let the community wrap some aroha around you and really lift you up and support you at this time. If you're a young person watching at the Mo and you've got some time that you want to give, I guess the opportunity is to jump on to Aroha Collective and post up your give. What is it that you're able to give right now? Or if you're interested in volunteering, to reach out to the crew and let them know your skills and what you've got to give, and perhaps you can plug in behind the scenes to help power this awesome initiative. I guess, Greg, giving and generosity is a really important pillar for well-being. And giving and generosity doesn't necessarily have to be money. It can be time, thoughts, networks, connections. There's so many different ways we can be generous with what we have. It'd be really cool to understand what the Aroha Collective has meant for you during this time and your well-being.
Yeah, I think it's our higher purpose. Well, I know it is our higher purpose. You know, once we've gone past, you know, getting enough for ourselves or making sure that we've got enough food and, you know, we've got some financial stability, you know, we're learning ourselves. The next pillar of fulfillment in life is to be able to give to others, share what you've learned, you know, support someone in a way. As you say, it doesn't have to be financial. It doesn't even have to be cooking if you suck at cooking. Like, it's just like, what is it that you have a gift and it that you with someone else? I know that like Fit for Service, which is the organization that I'm involved in, that I was in Mexico with, they're just all about it. And they're saying even people, especially in New Zealand, feel like they have to become some form of an expert with all of the qualifications and everything under their belt to be able to then be of support, or, you know, to train or teach or coach others, or, you know, just send out some support. But it's just a load of rubbish, you know. Like if you can see someone that could learn from what you've just gone through, it's incredibly valuable, and the fulfillment you get from doing that, I've witnessed it And not only have we witnessed it as people that are the founders or co-founders of Aroha Collective, but you see the comments of once it's been fulfilled, how that giver feels, or that person who's able to show support. They are jumping on it. Like there was people fighting over who was going to pick up this lady's food, and it's like, whoa, just calm down. Like it's already filled, and then there's another. I can do it. You know, it's something. It's in our human nature to be wanting to, you know, to be of service to others.
That's so awesome, and it'd be cool. You mentioned then just a couple of the stories. It'd be really cool to just touch on, I guess some of the impact around what you have been able to facilitate through the Aroha Collective platform.
Yeah, so there's been some really cool stories actually. We had one person who had a whole bunch of kiwi fruit, and she actually had washed them all, and she was individually packaging them up, and she then took her daughter and went for a walk just around the neighborhood and dropped them off to 4 different people, and then they gave her some stuff back. And we've had a lady from further south. I don't really want to get too much into detail, but her husband had an illness and she wasn't able to leave the house, and she put up just a bunch of essential goods that she needed, and that was not even in the Waikato region, and they fulfilled it overnight. What else have we had? Oh, we've had someone who's just posted up that they needed some medication, so we're working on trying to fulfill that for them because they don't want to leave the house. We had an ask on behalf coming from somebody who was in the Mount who wanted to make sure that his mother got the food that she needed because she didn't want to go out of the house. So that I was at the supermarket and was able to pick up some stuff for her and drop it off. So it's just like it's that speed of and being decentralized as well. It just allows us to be able to move a lot quicker. So those are some of the stories, and we just want to try and keep amplifying that because we know that there's so many more people out there that can be shown that support through this time.
Yeah, and I guess what would your message be to people who are needing to put their hand up and ask for help, who aren't doing so well or are really struggling at the moment, and really do need that aroha to get them through this time? What would your message be to them?
So, I mean, have the courage to reach out and allow others to actually be of support to you. There's so many people in New Zealand who are just sitting there waiting for the opportunity to be able to be of support to others, and they get as much out of it as you will through that process. If you'd like to put an ask or ask for support, they can do so on the Facebook group. It's a very, very simple process. You just put a post up, we'll approve it. There's a specific way to do that so that we can then tag it to your region, and it just makes it a bit more efficient. But if you'd like to do so privately and you don't feel like you want to ask on the group, then you can either personal message me and I'll suss it out for you, or you can actually just go on to arohacollective.nz, and I've just built a form to be able to go through and actually just fill in your details, and then we can put it on the page for you. And equally, if you want to be a supporter, if you go through online, that's the best way to learn. On the website, you can actually learn all the safety processes that we'd like you to take, because the one thing for us is we want to have the utmost hygiene and make sure that there's social distancing throughout that whole process, because the last thing we want to do is have someone who's vulnerable actually become sick through that process. So it's strictly staying within your neighborhood. So yeah.
Cool. So there's some real guidelines around it as well. This isn't just a matter of pick some stuff off and drop it off. There is some guidelines around how that's handled. I guess I'm curious to know if people want to give other things, how have you guys managed that? Is Aroha Collective the platform for giving other things, or are there other platforms where you're seeing that be a space? You talked about before having some skills or experience that could actually support someone right now, whether that's mentoring or helping get a project off the ground or baking something, or is there a space for us to be able to give more than what's there at the mo?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and the answer is it's pretty niggly. Like, especially during the level 4 lockdown, it's advised against baking anything for anybody, or even now it's kind of like a bit dodgy to pick veggies and deliver them or anything like that, simply because you can unknowingly spread COVID-19 through that. I know that there are a lot of charities in the space that are eager to try and capitalize, or not capitalize, but utilize the opportunity that people have time and are eager to help. So there's a lot of platforms that are trying to form now, specifically around help. No, I mean, the only ones that I've seen currently are just simply volunteers who are safely delivering food. I know that obviously with the WISE group and stuff like that, they are looking for volunteers through Volunteering Waikato to be able to get more people there. But I think this is a really interesting space, because this is the 4-week lockdown. It's probably going to be more like 5 or 6 in my opinion, but the world is changing, right? This is going to have a huge effect on New Zealand long term. And so Aroha Collective is not just here for 4 or 5 weeks. We really want to try and understand the needs and evolve them as we go through, because there's so much skill that we have that we can offer to others. And in the current sort of construct of how our economy works, I see it changing. And we want to be of support to others to be able to connect those skills with people, because it doesn't always have to be under the current constructs of how we work. Because clearly it's not going to work for a lot of New Zealanders who are going to be made redundant through this process, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess in there as well is a conversation about surviving and thriving. I mean, surviving is getting your essential goods and your medications and being able to kind of get your food sorted and kind of those basic level needs. And then when we think ahead, well, how are we going to support Kiwis and young people in our communities to thrive in the future? What does that look like, and what are the steps we're going to take now to start paving a way for a different future? So it's really cool to hear. I think you guys are going to be a space to watch in terms of how you start carving out that path. I think we might leave it there, Greg.
Cool.
A half-hour powwow, but thank you so much for tuning in and for being our first live. Is there a message you want to leave everyone before we sign off?
I guess it's just primarily stay safe. Keep connecting with the people that are around you, because I think that human connection is super important through this process. Get outside, get some fresh air, get some sun on your face when it's not pissing down with rain. And then I would just look for ways to be of service to others, and do so safely, obviously. So that might simply just be calling people. It might be just sending people a Facebook message. It might be getting on. I know there's been people that are doing like drinks at 4 o'clock on. I think, have you done one there, Gemma? Of the drinks? What? We're linking in with a whole bunch of your friends just to do a few drinks at 4 o'clock. I know there's been a whole bunch of people doing that, you know.
We did quiz night last night, and that was hilarious. I have never had so much fun being alone.
It's just that stuff. Like, that's all I want people to do. And then if they want to be involved in Aroha Collective, if it's struck a chord with them, jump online, see it. If you want to get in touch, just private message me or one of the crew. It'll be cool.
Oh, that's awesome, Greg. Thank you so much for your time and for spreading Aroha tonight with Seed Waikato. We'll talk to you soon, and we'll see you on the Aroha Collective.
Cool. Thanks, Jim.